it's my pleasure to give a few words to our Forum Caesar Sima Abramovich if he wants to address us online. Profesore, hoćete vi da kažete par reči?
First of all, I'm so happy that that tradition is going on. Now we have again
Profesor, isključite slušalice, ne čuje se tako. Vrlo ste tihi otkako ste...
Type of lecturing. I remember well when
Profesore, ne čuje se ništa.
She was assistant and when she was looking for
Ugasite slušalice, ne čuje se ništa.
Infected with which is called, let's say, simulation of the Athenian courts. Then, of course, I remember Una, and I was absolutely happy that I had such a great heirs, such a great disciples who are now continuing our efforts. But most of all, I'm happy that I see a part of a friend of mine, Professor Castellani. I can only see his hand if he just raised a hand to say hello to everyone, because he became a part of our story. Hi, Victor. Hi, Victor. So nice to have you here.
Howdy.
Good.
Ambassador.
Absolutely happy. I remember also the day when you've been with us for the first time. Maybe I can say that I felt a piece of suspicion from your side when we started this way of teaching. And from then on, you became our fan, you became our co-founder, and I'm so grateful for all the years that you are with us. Your participation, your preparation of the students always gave the flavor to our simulations, and particularly we all remember how good player, how good actor you were when you have been acting like Heracles or something like that. It was really something that many students from the faculty of Law University of Belgrade are going to remember until their career. So special thanks for Victor to being with us again, and hoping that we are going to continue our tradition. Now we have also those devices, and video conferences are also okay. So Victor is always very welcome in his second home university, which is University of Belgrade. My congratulations at the end to all the participants of today's simulation. I hope that you prepared it well. Thanks again to Una for doing the most part of the job, and thanks to Victor who inspected it in the last days. And we are all looking forward to see what did you prepare. I'm so happy that our dream is going on, and I have a really very strong feeling that it will not stop with this generation, and that we are going to have maybe among the students of today next assistants who are going to keep the flame and get it on in the next years and decades. All the best, enjoy, and my congratulations to all.
Jurors of Athens, please rise. Do you swear to judge justly, with no prejudice or agenda, to judge with your mind and not your heart, and to respect the court of Athens that is blessed with goddess Diana? We swear. Please be seated. Jurors, we are gathered here today to decide one's innocence or guilt, and that one is Alcibiades. Unfortunately, Alcibiades has run away from Athens, and we are doing this trial in his absence. He is charged on 2 accounts. First is for impiety. The reason being that he allegedly mutilated statues of Hermai all over the city, as well as for mocking and revealing the secret rituals of Hellenician mysteries. The second account is for treason, subversion of democracy, and sabotaging the Sicilian expedition and collaborating with our foe Sparta. All are serious charges that if the accused is found guilty, he will be sentenced to death. I give the word to Andropas.
Honorable men of Athens, we are here today to put on trial one of the most despicable men our city has ever seen, Alcibiades. Not only did he commit the most horrible crimes a man could ever commit, but he also cowardly fled from Athens instead of standing here today and facing you and your justice like command. Alcibiades is on trial today for sacrilege, treason, and subversion of democracy. I'm here to tell you about one of his crimes, the mutilation of Hermai, and my fellow prosecutors will tell you about the rest. All of you, principal citizens, know what cruel blasphemy took place the other night in our palace. Someone so ordinary and evil destroyed the statues of Hermes while all of us were sleeping. By committing this abhorrent crime, this feat has provoked debate of the gods, which will quickly cover our palace and all the innocent citizens and ruin everything we have accomplished. On every single statue, face of the Hermes is disfigured to that extent it became unrecognizable. Fortunately, not everyone was asleep during that awful night. Therefore, I, Androcles, have utterances of witnesses that swear by their life they have seen Alcibiades and his companions conducting their rampage by desecrating her mind. According to that, I have testimony of our first witness, which is slave John.
Thank you. I, Decorus the slave, hereby swear that I have seen Alcibiades and groups of his men destroy the statues of Hermes. It was late at night when I left the property of my master for the sake of getting a jug of water I forgot the same evening. I would be punished by my master if I did not fulfill my duty. As I was going back to the property, I saw several groups of men rainlessly running into a palace where statues of Hermes stood. At the head of this outrageous group was Alcibiades himself, shouting something unclear. My assumption is he was so drunk he could not even talk properly.
Here we have testimony of our another witness, which is Theophilus.
Please raise your hand. Do you swear that you will testify truthfully under the threat of being charged of pseudo-martyrium?
I swear.
You may proceed.
I, Dark Light, swear in the name of God that I have witnessed one of the most shameful deeds of them all. Late in the night, I was walking back home after visiting an old friend when suddenly loud sounds of screaming filled the air. Seconds later, groups of at least 10 to 15 men rushed right beside me. I have recognized some of the faces, but I'm most definitely certain it was Alcibiades. The next day, when I heard that the Hermei were mutilated, I knew he was one to be accused.
Considering testimonies of our honorable witnesses, honorable jurors, following facts are not to be denied. Alcibiades is a threat to our beloved city of Athens, and his arrogance and ambition know no boundaries. He must be indignant at the polis for not getting the role of a chief general in the warpath, so he decided to inflict the wrath of the gods on our polis by destroying sacred statues. Honorable men of Athens, do you want to trust this man, this unscrupulous man, and his narrow-minded defenders? This man is a perdition for Athens and must be greatly punished.
I give the word to Aristarchus.
My fellow citizens, I too shall bring one of I think, the worst accusations against Alcibiades, also for sacrilege. This godless man committed not just only one, but two disgusting crimes against our gods and religions. Does he hold anything dear or sacred? If as destroying Hermai was not enough for him, he also discreted the Eleusinian mysteries and revealed its secrets to non-members of a cult. So, what I have to tell you that Alcibiades had a really great time at Pierce's house, his friend's Pierce's house. Pierce has never been a miser, not even this time, when he called his friends, Alcibiades, and his brother to a feast, for surely very rich feast. So, our dear friend Alcibiades drank a few glasses more than he can obviously handle. You're probably thinking, why am I talking about this? Because only drunk Alcibiades could do something like he did that night. Or someone who can present himself as an atheist without no problem. So let me move on to the point. When Alcibiades already had fun, he decided to prove how knowledgeable he is on a very stupid way. You're going to agree with me that discreting the Eleusinian mysteries is a very stupid way to prove how knowledgeable you are. And not just that, also revealing its secrets to non-members of a club. So, there was Andromachus, a slave, who saw all that and heard all that. So if I could give his statement to magistrate, I would be very grateful.
Thank you. I was at the feast at Pyrrhus' house, and there were a few people, Alcibiades and his brother. They were having a great time, but suddenly I saw Alcibiades with two other men, how they mock and humiliate our religion, and at the same time revealing its secret in front of the people who were non-members. I was very scared and confused. I really didn't know what to do. I must say, Alcibiades was very rude, and he looked like he didn't care for a second what the consequences would be.
You heard, my fellow citizens, what an unhuman is moving between us, or if I may repeat, an atheist. If you ask me, a man with this blatant disrespect for our religion, and a man who draws a war to gods in our polis, he has no place here. Maybe Socrates or his dear friends from Sparta taught him this behavior. We will never know, fortunately. That's all that I have to say for now. Thank you.
I call Hades to the stand.
Honorable men of Athens, I am here today to show you the true nature of Alcibiades. Once praised and upheld, he has finally shown us his true colors, for he is a man of non-existent virtue and despicable character. This is a man who betrayed his own polis out of pure spite and selfishness. Such disloyalty is difficult for me to grasp. He holds nothing dear, he cares about nothing and no one, and he must be removed from the Athenian society, for he is poison, threatening to destroy it from the inside out. Among his other sins, Alcibiades stands trial today for another, perhaps the most wicked of crimes, treason. He sabotaged the Sicilian expedition and ruined Athens' plan by revealing our strategy.
Nonsense.
He informed the Syracuse about our spies within their city, whom were vital to our attack. It is only because of him that the attack wasn't successful. This man's depravity goes so far as to sabotage a plan that he's been personally advocating for months out of pure malice. He is disloyal and dishonorable. He betrayed his own polis that raised him, fed him, educated and respected him. He betrayed his family, his home, and his fellow citizens for pure selfish gain. And his reasoning is particularly shameful. As you have already heard, Alcibiades was charged with a crime so serious that the trial couldn't possibly wait for the end of the expedition. It was perfectly reasonable for the Athenians to demand to know whether a man who held immense power in his hands was guilty of such heinous crimes. We had every right to want to examine this man's supposed innocence and honesty. However, instead of acting like a man and coming to stand in front of his fellow citizens and clear his name, Alcibiades chose to be a coward and flee as soon as he heard the ship was coming to take him to trial. And not only did he flee, he chose to seek refuge in Athens' great enemy, Sparta, as well as unnecessarily ruining the Sicilian expedition, further adding salt to the injury. Athenians only wanted to do what was right and bring him to justice. However, that didn't align with Alcibiades' personal interest, so he thought it appropriate to punish his own polis for doing what was just, in any way he possibly could. Honorable jurors, I now leave you to ponder the true nature of Alcibiades. His wickedness, his treachery, his cowardice. This act of disloyalty cannot be overlooked and forgiven, and a man ready to stab his polis in the back has no place in the Athenian society, lest his depravity be the doom of us all. Thank you.
Please behave. I give the word to Eusebius.
Greetings, fellow citizens. My name is Eusebius, and I'm here to add to what my fellow prosecutors have already said. As we have heard, Alcibiades had committed treason. But I would like to add to that and say that he had always been Athens' enemy. Isn't it strange how even the name of this vain man is of Spartan origins?
Your mother is Spartan.
Please.
He just managed to manipulate every single one of us into thinking that he was our friend and our ally. Out of all the policies, the one he found rescue in and the one he had connections with was Sparta. Out of all the policies, the one that Athens is currently in war with, the one that we, the people of Athens, have the worst relationship with. It's even possible that he was a Spartan spy all this time. It's obvious that he was their ally, since right after the sabotage of the Sicilian expedition had happened, he fled there, to Sparta. And he would have not done that if he was not guilty, and he would have not gone to Sparta if he had not known that they would welcome him there warmly. Ever since the beginning of his political career here in our dear Athens, he had been trying to destroy, corrupt, and spoil our democracy, the one thing that we value the most.
Lies.
He used his good looks and great intelligence to trick us into believing him that he was our companion, but he was never that. It's only a matter of time when he would completely demolish our democracy and become nothing else but a tyrant. He had only ever wanted one thing: power, and he would do anything to get his hands on it. He had been trying for so long to get all the power here in our dear Athens, but upon realizing that we were not so easy to trick, he went to Sparta in hopes that their people were less intelligent than us and that they would allow him to rule over them. This man should have been banished from Athens a long time ago. I believe it is not exaggerated to say that he would betray his own mother and family if it would be to his benefit. This selfish coward has been working against us ever since the beginning of his career. And did we forget that there was an ostracism trial held against him already? Do you remember that, fellow citizens? Yes. He had always been dangerous. He was only not found guilty because he managed to once again manipulate us. And we can only assume that Sparta helped him back then as well. once again proving that he had been working with them for so long. Alcibiades is overly ambitious, dangerously even, and he cannot be trusted. He is educated, he is intelligent, but we, the people of Athens, we are more intelligent than him, and we shall not allow him to manipulate, play, or trick us any longer.
Now that the prosecutor is finished, I will call now upon the defenders. I call Philoctemon to the stand.
Honorable man of Athens, we stand here today, and we came here today to defend our friend Alcibiades and honor of this city. We can't stand aside while someone divides our polis, and we came here to unravel the conspiracy against Alcibiades. One of you, fellow citizens, a man who loves this polis and would give his life for it. And on the other side, let's not pretend that we don't know why Androcles came here today and attacked our friend Alcibiades.
Lies!
You are sneaky, evil bastard, aren't you, Androcles?
You came here today to not to let Alcibiades attack me and my fellow prosecutors. Shame on you!
While he was risking his life for benefit of this police, you were only thinking about how you can harm him and his career.
Lies. Lies. You're lying! Shame on you!
However, you brought two witnesses that allegedly saw Androcles and a large group of people in the middle of the night ruining the holy statues of Hermes. Firstly, how could they be that sure that they saw Androcles precisely? I mean, it was dark. They couldn't be possibly sure, unless they were paid by somebody. And who's that somebody? Androcles.
Lies. You're lying.
Secondly, everybody knows that Alcibiades was home that night preparing for a Sicilian expedition, and he had no benefit in ruining holy statues. I mean, he was one of the leaders of the group, and the failure of expedition would be his own failure. Lastly, if your witnesses saw him precisely, if they saw him, could they tell us who else was with him that night? And could we should be immediately prosecuting those people, those criminals? But I tell you, there's no truth in the words of these four men. They are ashamed of this police. And I mean, it's far more logical that Corinthians destroyed our statues because Corinth is.
Those are fabrications. Pure lies.
Syracuse is their colony, and on the other side, Athenians are religious people, and they wouldn't be messing with, they wouldn't be mutilating Hermia. And I tell you once more and last time, these four people are liars, and don't believe them.
You're a liar. You're a liar.
Okay. Now I call Caricatus.
Honorable man of Athens, the second prosecutor told a quiet story here. Alcibiades getting drunk and mocking Eleusinian mysteries, acting like a fool. Do you honestly think that a man like Alcibiades allowed himself to behave like that? He comes from a long line of proud and famous Athenian citizens. Both Clisthenes and Pericles are his kin. Does it mean nothing anymore, Athenians? Does it not act as a guarantee of this man's character? A man who has done so much for our polis, brought it glory, just like his ancestors. As this insane accusation, you accused Alcibiades of his blasphemy before the expedition even began. He offered himself, and I personally offered, to be judged then and there, before he set sail to Sicily, to clear his name as he know that he was innocent. Now tell me, would a guilty man propose something like that? Would the guilty man actively ask to be brought into a courtroom and face charges and potential death? It is clear that Alcibiades is an honorable man without a stain on his name, and he has nothing to be ashamed of. Tell me, jurors, where are the other witnesses of this case? Allegedly, where Eleusinian mysteries were mocked, there was other people's. Why are we have only one testimony which comes from the slave? Surely there must be more evidence to sentence a man to death or exile, not only a word from one slave. I tried to find other peoples, but they left Athens. Someone has so afraid to even talk to me. Why? What are they afraid? Or better to ask, who are they afraid of? We are talking here about justice. We cannot allow the prosecutors to manipulate the witnesses by bribing and threatening them so much that they get away from the city, fear for their lives. Athenians, don't let this man deceive you as you are smarter than them.
Okay, I will call now upon the third defender, Nicandros. Please come to the stand.
Your Honor and men of the jury, my name is Nicandros, and many of you here know me well as I have fought by your side numerous times, shoulder to shoulder, defending the glory of our beloved city, fighting against the barbarians and protecting our walls. I stand before you today in order to defend a defenseless man, a man who this police gave upon, and let him be at the mercy of these wild prosecutors who do nothing but scheme and plot. I have fought many battles with Alcibiades by my side. I have never seen a man who fought with more bravery and fearlessness than him. So you understand why these charges against him shock me, but not as much as the treatment he's receiving from the prosecutors. Athenians, under the law, my comrade in arms is presumed innocent until proven guilty. During this trial, you heard no real evidence against Alcibiades. Suspicious testimonies from slaves. Unproven attacks from the prosecutors. Is that enough to sentence a man, especially a man as virtuous as Alcibiades? First of all, Alcibiades is the bravest warrior and the smartest statesman I have ever met, and I had honor to fight by his He never had a second thought when there was a need to go to the first lines and fight for our freedom and territory. Can't you see, Athenians, that he would always put interest of Athens above his personal ones? Above his personal ones. So you understand that Alcibiades was a good man.
Best one.
Why? It's the worst one.
He was the one who noticed the perfect chance for Athens to become a leading force in the Hellenic world for good of all its citizens. To accuse him of treason is insanity. His political enemies were trying to eliminate him from the political scene in every possible way, and this is their last resort. They have been using various lies, and with the help of their fake witnesses, they turned citizens of Athens against him. War is a messy business. We don't know for a certain that that information is true. They say that Alcibiades sabotaged the Sicilian expedition.
He did.
And betrayed Athens. Also, they say that he gave away Athenian strategy to the Syracuse. Who says that they are not lying in order to turn us against one of our most brilliant generals and get him exiled or killed? That would most definitely be of benefit to Syracuse or these wild men here, but not us, true Athenians. My fellow citizens, they are enemies who wish us ill, but Alcibiades is not one of them. For the good of Athens and justice, it would be wrong to convict Alcibiades, because he can still bring a lot of benefits to our democracy. Thank you.
All right. I call on the fourth offender, Democritus.
Honorable men of Athens, if this trial was a performance, it would be called the betrayal of Athens.
It is called that.
In this unfair tragedy, the main character would be exactly him.
Lies.
In this unfair tragedy,
You should be ashamed.
the main actor would be this good patriot who was accused for betrayal of the police, which was one of his greatest dedications. The main character would be exactly him, the leader who was blamed for that one loss in battle, and in that one moment, the people forgot about every other triumph he brought to the police. The people forgot about every other glorious day ascribed to Athens thanks to him. The statesman whose name and honor was placed in dirt by dishonest descendants. The same people who ruined his reputation were the ones who turned his people against him. And all that because they knew that they can't win on other occasions playing by the rules of justice. Fellow citizens, honorable jurors, let's face truth together. We are questioning the loyalty and honor of the man who himself asked to go to court in front of an expedition because his conscience is in peace and he has nothing to hide. By doing this, we are letting those evil snakes and this kind of people will be leading the Athens. No, shame! Shame! We are letting those evil bastards ruin the reputation of the future of our children, of the newborns and the ones that will be born in future. Not for me, not for every other individual in this room, but for the future of Athens. The shameless prosecutors were just waiting for the moment when he won't be in the police. He was about to fight for the future generations, just like big hero he is. In that moment, they were patiently waiting so they could stab the knife in his back while he was bleeding for the police. And that kind of behavior is unacceptable. People like that, if people like that inherit Alcibiades, if a moment like that ever happens with Alcibiades or tomorrow with some other hero, mark my words, the democracy in our polis will die. I would like to know your opinion, honorable jurors. Do you think that this trial, which was organized by these sneaky bastards, is fair? If your answer is correct, is positive, with all due respect, the democracy really died in our polis. He was seeking refuge in Sparta, not to reveal the plans of Athens, but to realize who, how, and why is someone working behind his back while he was bleeding for the police. These prosecutors will do everything for the power and for the authority.
Shame on you. Lies.
And by doing that, they doesn't care about people, and they don't care, and they don't allow themselves to feel fear of anyone. What would you think will happen if one day they got all the power? How will they treat the demons then? How will they treat the gods, and what type of anger the gods of Olympus will brought to the polis? Let me remind you that they were the ones who ruined the statues of Hermes.
Shameful accusations. You have
No, it's not. It's true.
It's not. You're lying again.
That is true.
You have no proof.
These are again.
We have our proof. You don't have it.
Me, Democritus, like one cautious Athenian, don't want to be a part of this stroke to Athens' democracy and of my friend Alcibiades. And I don't want to be a part of this tragedy which has befallen the people of Athens. This gathering is shame for everything our society represents.
Yes,
Please, jurors, what is this? Defendants, go get him. This is a mess.
Magistrate, if you may allow it, I, Socrates, would like to say not here.
Prosecutors, please!
Because one of the prosecutors mentioned my name, but secondly, and more importantly, because I believe that I'm the only one who can paint you the real picture of who Alcibiades is.
Socrates, I give you your word.
Not so
As most of you, my fellow citizens, know, my relationship with Alcibiades is a complicated one, with many ups and downs. But I will not be telling you about his deeds and actions. I believe that you've heard enough. I will be telling you about his characteristics, his personality. Today, you have heard from two sides, which are both too extreme in their beliefs. To say that he was a
You lie.
To say that he was a man with no flaws would be a lie, but to say that he was unloyal and that he poses as a threat to Athens would be an even worse one. He's young, he's foolish, he's arrogant, he's aware of his potential, but he just doesn't know how to use it well.
One thing I'm certain of is my own ability to change him. As he was one of my own students, I was able to see the beauty of his mind, which, believe me, is rarely seen in others. I can change him if you only give me the opportunity to. I can show him the way, I can lead him far from politics, and I can make him wise, and I can make him a man who is respectable, who is looked upon. I beg of you, man of Athens, overlook his flaws. I beg of you not to overlook the potential of his virtue, one of which I would like to single out, and that is his patriotic loyalty to Athens. I see what you can't see. I see a diamond in the rough. His wisdom, which he currently uses for political gain and personal upliftment, I will redirect to something much more great and noble. Allow him to bloom. He will only be able to bloom under my watchful eye and my wing. If you decide to kill him, to kill his mind, to exile him, you will only be feeding into the wishes of his enemies who despise him, who loathe him, who wish to see his downfall, but they don't loathe him because of his deeds or actions. They loathe him because of their own jealousy that is eating him alive. They despise him because they're envious. They despise him because they fear his mind. They fear what he can become. And I think that only by giving them that satisfaction, you would be ruining not only the reputation of me, as I was his teacher, but you will be ruining the reputation of Athens. Please overlook this one time his flaws and not exile him, because that way you would be killing a mind which would be respected in the future. For the last time, I ask of you, please let Alcibiades return to Athens. Let him come back home, which he loves dearly and which he is very proud of.
Pathetic.
All right. Hellists, it is time to fulfill your vow and vote by raising your hand. Who here votes for the prosecutors? All right. Wait. Put your hands up. Okay. You can. Now, who votes for the defendants? You may lower your hands. With this clear vote, I can say the sentence. And that sentence is that Alcibiades is guilty on all charges. This is a serious trial. Okay. He will be sentenced to death when he enters the soil of Athens. It is adjourned.
Thank you.
You just what's going to be going on now. So.
Yep. Well, should I say something?
Well, it would be nice.
Okay. prepared and those who delivered. And I can understand why the defenders were intimidated. They could barely be heard. Alcibiades, about whom modern historians are divided, although it's pretty clear that he was for himself, not for anyone else. He was not a very good friend to the Spartans. He used the Spartans every bit as much as he used the Athenians. If the Athenians had stayed on the right side of him, he could, in fact, have glorified Athens. Oh, there. He could have glorified Athens considerably, but they would have used him cynically. He would have used them to establish power and glory for himself. He was constantly in rivalry with a relative of his, Pericles, and wanted to be the greater than Pericles. But there were people who did, and this was a point that the defenders made, a very good one. There were people who envied him, who were afraid of how powerful he could be, of how he could, in fact, be another Pericles, although that seems unlikely because his personality was so different. His personality is so fascinating that you probably know about the parallel lives of the 2nd century Common Era philosopher and biographer Plutarch. Plutarch has dozens of lives that have survived, but many literary critics, many historians think that the life of Alcibiades is the masterpiece of Plutarch and one of the all-time masterpieces of biography. And I don't know whether you had a chance to read that in preparation for this, parts of it maybe. He is a fascinating person. It's instructive to see what Plutarch could find, or whom Plutarch could find among great Romans to compare with Alcibiades. And the best he could do, and it's not a very good best, was to choose Coriolanus. I don't know how well you are familiar with him. One of Shakespeare's greatest history tragedies is about Coriolanus. Shakespeare elected not to do an Alcibiades, but instead Coriolanus. Coriolanus was, well, find out who Coriolanus is. I'm not going to tell you the whole story of Coriolanus. He did turn against Rome when Rome failed to honor him. But it wasn't because Rome was going to accuse him and convict him and execute him or exile him. It was simply that he lost an election that he should have won. In his estimation, he should have won. And for that, because some populist leader, he was a very, very stern aristocrat of the noblest ancestry, descended from one of Romulus's companions at the foundation of the city. Coriolanus went over to the enemy in the early days of Rome, when the enemies of Rome were not overseas, but were nearby, other Italian nations. He went over to them, he gave them advice, he led their troops. He ended tragically. The end of Alcibiades, and if you do read the life of Alcibiades, you'll see ups and downs. He actually came back to help Athens, but you can understand why nobody would trust him at the end. I applaud you for getting this organized. I applaud especially the magistrate, who was a kind of master of ceremonies. And I thank you for doing what you did, and for performing in a second language, maybe for some of you even a third language, so eloquently. If there was some hesitation, that is to be understood under the circumstances. You had limited time to prepare, and there are other things going on in your lives, including your studies, besides getting ready for this. So I thank you for the effort you put in. I thank you for the product of that effort, and for some good laughs. And not laughs when you are being silly and unruly, but for some of the zingers that you actually did get in, I think just about every one of the four speeches and then Socrates at the end. So thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be here in person, and I'm glad that you can do this in person, with or without the masks. But let me tell you something. I saw a sign. I like interlingual fun, joking. I saw a sign. It's here and there, all over, and it shows a masked face, and it shows nosi masku. Well, it occurred to me to ask, and I asked somebody in the Ethnography Institute, why doesn't it say, because, nosi masku would be this. Why doesn't it say, nosi I mouthy masku? Because that's what you're supposed to cover. Well, that wasn't very funny. I was trying. But again, I congratulate all of you, and I'm happy to have been at one of these things after last year's interruption. We couldn't do anything like this after several in a row for the Forvm Romanvm, or is it Fora Romana in the plural? But all the best to all of you. Thanks to Una for her organizing catalyst, and she's the dynamo and the catalyst at the same time for this. So. Congratulate her. Thanks to her. And I will step down. Stay healthy.